T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to episode 10 of Kush'S Korner here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Tonight we have on Jonathan Lohman of Palm Beach Colubrids to talk about all the different amazing species of colubrids that he works with. But before we get into the episode, as always, USARC. For anybody who is not aware, USARC is the organization that is fighting for our legal rights to keep our reptiles, to run our reptile businesses, and to pursue this way of life. Check out usarc.org to learn more about USARC. If you're not already a member, please become a member. As a community, we have strength in numbers, and the more people we have behind our causes, the better. Tonight, we are brought to you by Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. For anybody who's in the arboreal game, the Morelia game, green trees, emeralds, carpet pythons, etc., you probably know the name Gary Scavino and GS Reptiles. For anyone who's in the market for any of the different species that Gary works with, check him out. He also has one of probably, in my opinion, the best YouTube channels out there as far as reptile content goes. So go check out GS Reptiles. And we're also brought to you by Mark Bailey Reptiles. Mark Bailey is an OG in the ball python game, somebody who's been doing it longer than many of us have probably been alive, producing some of the highest end ball pythons on the market. He's also a rodent OG who I owe a lot of my knowledge in that area too. So check out Mark Bailey Reptiles. We're also brought to you by Blake's Exotic Feeders. For anybody who is looking for quail to feed their animals, check out Blake's Exotic Feeders. They hand raise everything here in the United States, so you know you're getting a good quality animal. So check them out. All right, here we are. It is Wednesday night, which means we are back at it again. And a little bit of a diversion from our typical Python, scrub Python centric topic to talk about something else that I'm very passionate about in colubrids. So without further ado, let's bring Jonathan on. Dude, how's it going?
What's up, bro? How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Doing good, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you made it. You know, I don't know when I ran across your Instagram page, but it's eye catching. I'll tell you that much. You know, you work with some of the more visually striking colubrid species out there.
Cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who is unfamiliar with you, you know, give us a little bit of a rundown of you know, how you got your start into reptiles and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, man. So just growing up here in South Florida, you know, I grew up fishing and stuff, and every time I'd go fishing, we'd find, you know, water snakes and stuff like that. And one of my older brothers, he was into snakes. So he was always showing me things and teaching me, oh, this, you know, this snake here, this is a brown water snake, you know, it's not a cottonmouth or a water moccasin. So at a very young age, man, while I was fishing, I was catching brown water snakes and banded water snakes. And behind my house was a park with a golf course, but it had like scrub habitat back there, and we used to flip boards and catch corn snakes and stuff like that, and walk the railroad tracks and flip railroad ties and stuff like that. So it was just cool growing up in Florida, man. It was just something that I always liked, were snakes. So basically what happened was, I would say like how I got into the breeding part of it was due to my buddy Mike. I was already keeping a lot of snakes. Like I was going out catching Florida king snakes and corn snakes and keeping yellow rat snakes. And I was breeding them, but I was just like breeding them for fun and letting them go and stuff. And I had a lot of cool locality Florida kings. And I met my buddy Mike through an old friend, this guy, Fred Grunwald. He lived out here by me. And
course. Yeah.
Best friends growing up. I don't know if you know who Fred
Oh,
was.
sure. Yeah.
Fred was a legend, man. Fred was an awesome guy. So my best friend growing up, Jamie, we grew up since elementary school, and he used to always tell me, "Hey, man, you got to go out to Fred's house, man, and meet this guy, Fred, man. It's my uncle's best friend. He's got crocodiles, snakes, all this stuff, And so that was always in my head. And so the one day we finally got out there to Fred's house when we were younger, man, I seen all the stuff he was keeping, and that was just like amazing. So fast forward, like, I don't know, 15 years down the road, I'm hanging out at Fred's house now because I'm older. We're driving. We're going out there all the time, hanging out with Fred, checking out his animals. And he's like, "Hey, John," he's like, "I got to introduce you to my friend Mike Gillen. You'll love him. He loves colubrids and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, all right, Fred. We'll see." Because Fred always had some characters around there. A lot of great people, though, too. But there were some characters there. So I was kind of skeptical. So the one day we're hanging out over there, and, Mike Gillen shows up. And I'm like, "Oh, man, this guy's cool. He's a cool dude. I get along great with him." And we're talking snakes and stuff. And he keeps a lot of California king snakes. And he's like, "Man, I just hatched out a ton of babies. Do you want some? I'll give them to you, here you go, man." He's like, "You set up to keep them and everything?" I'm like, "Yeah." So at the time we were renting a house, and I was keeping some snakes there already, but I had a nice rack for hatchlings and stuff. And so I started keeping some of these Florida king snakes. Well, in a couple of years, I had them up to size, and breeding, and they were dropping eggs and everything. And he's like, "Hey, man, you can sell these things, and people will buy them, and they're worth some money." So I was like, "All right, cool." So he kind of showed me the ropes, like how to package them up, create labels, do all that stuff, and ship them out to people. So that was cool. So that's kind of how I got into the breeding aspect of it, and then and then it just kind of progressed into keeping other rare stuff that I liked, and I was actually doing, cruising the internet, on kingsnake.com back in the day. And I found some people on there, and I found Jason Hood first, scrolling through because I was looking for big arboreal snakes. And I came across his page with the fire knacks, which was really cool. And I called him up on the phone. That was probably like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I started finding some of my stuff that I wanted to keep.
Cool. So is that like approximately when you started getting really serious, like 10 years ago?
I would say 10 years ago. Yeah. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So would you say that your taste in snakes was kind of molded by your environment growing up in South Florida?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you ever expand out and beyond that at all? Or have you really been kind of on this path of these colubrids?
Yeah. Just no. I mean, no, I just really am interested in what I like. It's just been on the path of the colubrids, and especially I like really big colubrids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like the king rat snakes and stuff like that. It's just that kind of stuff just interests me.
Yeah. At what stage of your herp journey were you starting to look at the stuff like the king rats and the tiger rats and Barron's racers? And
so that was in like 2015.
Okay.
Started about these snakes, and came across them and was, looking at them going, "Holy crap, man, this thing is really cool." So that's how I got into the king rat snakes. I think I saw it on a Facebook post or something, and this guy had some. I met this guy Todd Lapidus on there, and he's in Texas too. I don't know where he went, but he had some king rat snakes for sale, and I contacted him, and I said, "Hey, man, like, tell me about these snakes, like keeping them and stuff." And he gave me a little bit of the rundown, and so I was like, "Sounds like something I want." So he sent them to me, and that kind of started it for me. That was in 2015 2015. That's when I got the hatchlings. So, cool. And then from there, it just, got into some Barron's racers. And once I started getting into some of this rare stuff, and then, all the snakes that I got back then, even now, most of everything that I get, not everything, because I've got some bigger snakes, but everything started off for me as hatchlings at the time. It took me like 4 years to raise them up to size. And then once I started breeding them, then I was making money, and then I had the money to buy other snakes and things that I wanted. So I just kept on getting more.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing I want to touch on before we kind of go deeper. So you got all these things that you're breeding now. You got them all as hatchlings and raised them all up.
Yep.
So that's something that a lot of us are guilty of not doing. You know,
Yeah.
we'll find that adult pair, those bigger wild caught animals, and not waste, you know, try to kind of take a shortcut. Do you attribute a lot of your success to the fact that you did that?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I know the animals better because I got them as hatchlings. You don't know when you're getting an adult, you know, what kind of animal you're getting, you know, the care, you know, if it, you know, eventually, I mean, if you do get an adult animal, I guess you'll find out if you have problems with it. But when you have a baby from the get-go, you kind of know this is my animal straight out of the egg pretty much. And
Yeah.
it's the animal, you know. So
Yeah.
I think raising hatchlings and you have a healthier animal at the end when you're ready to breed, you know, because it's your snake.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So before we start diving into little subtopics, give us a rundown of your overall collection with the different species and whatnot that you're working with.
Yeah. So, I mean, probably one of my favorites, if not the favorite, is the Firenax Bacillinotus.
Okay.
So I got, you know, I'm working with a ton of those. Then it's probably the king rat snakes, and then the Barron's racers. I've got the Honduran milk snakes, which are Bailey line hondos. Those are pretty rare in the hobby. I really like those a lot too. I've got the cave racers, the Ridley Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Those, I just got eggs from those too. So I don't even think I posted them. Last year I got eggs, and you know, it was a different species for me. I had raised those from hatchlings as well.
Okay.
And they tend to breed more towards the winter time, the end of winter. So when those eggs last year, I got the eggs, we were still having cold fronts here in Florida, and I didn't have my incubator set up at the time. Because usually I don't expect eggs that early. And so I ran them over to Mike's house, and he had his gecko eggs in there at like 84 degrees. It was just too hot, I think. So I learned a lesson. This year I got them nice and early, had my incubator set up, and so now I got them at like 75 degrees on a shelf. Actually, I didn't even use the incubator. I put them on the shelf in my room, in my closet, because I figured 75 is probably a good temp for them in there.
Yeah.
Close the AC vent and let them ride out and check them once a week. What else do I have? I've got some rhino rat snakes, which one I've been raising up since a baby, and it's getting up there. And then
Cool.
The adult pair that I got from Chris Sharp, sent them to me.
Okay.
What else? I got the tiger rats, of course. I got the Veracruz tiger rats, and I also have some Costa Rican animal. Well, one Costa Rican animal and a Guyana Shield animal from tiger rats, and I think that's. Oh, I got blue beauties.
Okay.
I got blue beauties. I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, that's
one more. I can't forget this one, Spilotes sulphureus. So
yes. Can't forget about those.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, they're some of my favorites. So I think we'll start with the topic that'll probably be the heaviest, considering what I know about you already. Will be the king rats,
Right.
and that's, I feel like, probably what stands out. I think you probably post them more than most of the other stuff you have, kind of proportionally speaking, because you have a lot of them, right?
Yeah, I got quite a few. Yeah, I don't think I post nearly what I have on there, but yeah, I got quite a few of those. So I got a lot of projects that I'm working on, and you know, some that that I've hatched out that I'm holding back groups of, just to get them up to age and breed them. That way, I have some stuff that is pretty cool. People probably for so.
Yeah. So give us an overview of the complex of king rats, because it's not one species and there's different localities. I'm also not super educated, so I'm curious too.
Yeah, there's basically 3 subspecies. You got the Yonaguniensis, which are Taiwan, Japan locale. Then you have the Yunanensis, which are mainland China, Yunnan. And then you got the Dequinensis, which is also there, mainland China from Dequin. It's basically like up in the mountains and stuff. And I believe the Yunnan still are up in the mountainous, and they're more of the dwarf species. And then, Alafe Carnata, carinata, which is the most common, normal, typical black and yellow
Right.
big carinata, which are all over China. But a lot of different. There's the Fujian locales, but I think those are just grouped in as Elafe carinata.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of different phenotypes out there and stuff. Different looks and high yellows and bandeds and patternless, and I mean, the list goes on. There's just so much out there that it's so hard for us to get our hands on, but we see it out there.
Okay. So what all is in the States currently as far as what's available either frequently or seldom just to work with?
So of course there's normals in the state. There's T negative albino. There are T positive albinos.
Okay.
There's hypos now in the States. There's leucistics in the States. There are what they call lemon yellows.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that the lemon yellow and the ivory, which is the leucistic is called an ivory. That's what they named it. So basically, I think the lemon yellow and the ivory might be the same. They might be compatible. I don't know. We're going to test that out and see. But I think we really don't know exactly everything that's going on, honestly. We know it's a recessive trait, but what else is there?
Are those all within carinata, all those morphs?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, it's the Elafe carinata.
Are there morphs within the other subspecies, like the?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. And is there? So you said that the carinata are the largest. Is there a significant discrepancy in size with the other subspecies?
I don't necessarily know that they're the largest because Yona gunniensis gets really big.
Okay.
More like a king cobra kind of. Yellow head, like yellow brass kind of color. Gold almost. There's some variability in their color. Some are more brass color. Some are more have like a greenish kind of color. But usually, typically on the top of their heads, almost like a greenish yellow.
Okay.
Big head scales, so they kind of look like a king cobra.
Yeah.
They get pretty big. I've seen them like freaking big around as my arm.
Wow.
Yeah, they get pretty damn big.
So yeah, how big are your adults typically?
So I have a male that is, what is he? He's 8 years old now, I believe. He's coming up on 8 years old.
Okay.
And I'd say he's probably at about 8 foot.
Okay.
So he's getting up there. But so the guy, Todd Lapidus, that I got, that's the guy who I got that snake from originally when it was a hatchling. I ended up getting 3 snakes from him. And his adult male was like 10 foot. So I know that these snakes from that line have a real good potential of getting up, to some pretty big sizes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. I feel like that's one of the things that draws people to them is just that impressive size. And you would know this better than anybody. They have a very bad reputation, obviously, of their attitude. Is that warranted?
To some degree, it is. For me, I've caught snakes. I know how to handle snakes. I'm very comfortable at reading them and stuff like that. So I can take a mean snake that's, you open up the cage and it's there, as soon as you come in, it wants to bite you, but I kind of know how to put my hand down over their head and get them, out without really biting you. But yeah, they do. They're kind of nippy, man. They are. But you can work with them and calm them down. But typically they are defensive. They're flighty, especially as hatchlings. I think once you get them up to, they've been around you for a while, I feel like they're pretty intelligent. They tend to figure out, okay, I kind of know this person after a while. I get used to them. They tolerate you, I would say. But even like my big one, he never really bites me. I pick him up and he'll hiss and puff a little bit, kind of like a bull snake or something. Yeah. But he doesn't really bite. He doesn't strike. So you can tame them down and handle them, no problem. But for somebody that's new to keeping snakes, I wouldn't recommend it for them.
Yeah. What do you think would be like a good species to kind of get a similar kind of behavior spectrum with, but in a more manageable package?
bull snake or something would be similar, you
Yeah.
know, like that. I think that's pretty close. You know, any type of Pituophis, pine snakes, similar. I still think the king rat snakes are a little bit more pissy than, you know, those are a lot of the pine snakes and the bull snakes. They're a lot of it's just bluff. I think, you know, they bluff. Or a king rat snake will bite you and it'll let go. It's not going to hold on like a you know, a Florida king snake will and just chew on you. They'll just bite and let.
Okay. So what are your setups like for your king rats? I guess in all stages, but I guess primarily maybe.
Yeah. So I've done a few different things. I like when I start them off in racks, and just because they're so secretive, they don't like to be seen. Like I've kept them in cages before, and as soon as I come in the room, they bolt, man. They bolt. They go right to the hide. A lot of times, all they want to do is hide, and they'll come out at night. You know, I notice them out more at night. But so I start them off not to stress them out. I put them in racks, you know, with opaque, you know, dark to opaque rack. That way they don't see me and stress them out. But I've been using aspen, shredded aspen. I feel like spot cleaning with them when it's really easy. It shows up. You can just go in there and boom, boom, pick it up, soaks up really nice. I was keeping them on cypress mulch for a while. It works good too, but I think the aspen's better. But you know, big water bowl, hide. Then once they get bigger, like my big male, he's in what is that, a 4 foot, I think it's the Neodesha. It's a slanted cage that got him a while back. It's the Neodesha. So I got him in a big Neodesha.
Okay, cool.
But the other ones are in V70s, you know.
Okay. Are you running them on ambient in your room?
Yeah, I keep it in the room at ambient temp. So they don't like it too hot, that's for sure. So I think, you know, mid to high 70s, low 80s is probably okay for them.
That kind of goes for across the board with probably almost everything you keep, right?
Yeah, so basically I'm in a 12 by 24 shed basically, and everything I keep is in that same room, and everything's on ambient is at ambient temperature. It's set at 80 degrees in there. But I'm sure, you know, at night and in the morning, you know, the temperature, it fluctuates a little bit up and down. You know, it'll get below 80, you know, get down probably to 70, 78, 77, 76 sometimes.
Sure.
And of course, in the wintertime, I let it just drop down pretty low. You know, if I have to, if it gets too low, I'll put a space heater in there just to heat it up a little bit. But they do fine. They digest their food just fine.
Okay, cool. So you're kind of like, when it comes to wintertime, kind of brumating in place, I guess, you know, to kind of put it.
Yeah. I don't put them in anything. They brumate right there in place, you know, just with the natural Florida temps. And they seem, I mean, I get really good breeding out of them, you know.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. I know people that's like, I got friends in Europe and they really drop the temps really low. You know, they're putting them down in the, you know, low 50s, you know, dropping them down there. And I don't really do that. And I have success, but I don't know. I attribute a lot of my success to the Florida weather, man. Honestly, especially with like the Spilotes, pilatus and stuff, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, so like how low are you getting in the winters in there?
So it'll get down, but it's not for a long time. Usually it's just for a couple of days. It'll get down probably like 55 in there.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. But it's only for maybe a couple of days. It doesn't stay at that temperature. Then it's back up to set like low 7, maybe 70 or 67 or something like that, you know, because in Florida, that sun comes out, it starts heating up again. So
yeah.
So it fluctuates quite a bit actually in the wintertime.
Yeah. And that's probably beneficial for the snakes, kind of to give them that stimulus in there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, it does well. I mean, in nature, especially with our snakes here, that they're going through the same thing. But of course, these snakes are from Asia, but a lot of the South American species do really well, and it's probably similar to their weather. Yeah,
for sure. When are you like kind of cutting off food in the fall when they go down?
Yeah, basically, I don't have like a set date. It's usually typically when we get our first cold front or something like that. Then I just back off, and then I just kind of just stop feeding.
Okay. And then you just same thing probably come late winter of bring it back once the weather kind of does the same.
Exactly. Yeah. This year I did something a little different. I think I brought them out. I started heating up the room actually like a month earlier this year. So hopefully that doesn't mess anything up. I mean, I just did get a nice clutch from one of the king rats, which was cool. But so far it looks like it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, any reasoning behind that, or just kind of a life thing?
Well, we're doing Daytona this year, and I kind of wanted to bring some stuff there because everybody's hitting me up for this stuff, and I never have anything for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got to get these people some snakes, so I'm trying to get them going for Daytona.
Yeah, I mean that's a good reason.
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, if it happens to be like I'm having a bad year for some reason, I won't do it next year.
Is Daytona your main show that you do?
We've only done it once before. We don't do shows too much, honestly. You know, we're pretty busy, man. We got full-time jobs, so it's like it'd be nice to probably do some. I even like I can't even. Sometimes I don't have stuff to bring to the shows, man, because I'm just out of stuff.
Yeah, that's not a bad problem to have.
No, it's not. But I want to bring some stuff because I want people to see it, man. And I got people, you know, a lot of my stuff just goes overseas too to people. So a lot of people here in the U.S. don't get a chance to get it, and I'm bad for these people over here, man. They keep hitting me up, man.
Oh man, that's funny. But I mean, hey, you know, if you're making it work, it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, that's awesome because a lot of people these days are struggling to move their stuff.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing too. You know, it's like, what do I do? It's easier just to take all your snakes, just put them in a box, and there they go. You know, then like ship this one out. You know, one at a time. It's kind of, it's a lot of work just to do that. So, and I have a full-time job. It's like, for me to get to everybody.
Yeah, especially that, you know, I have the luxury of right now being able to do this full time, and I remember doing it with a full-time job. It was not fun. So definitely kind of suck some of the enjoyment out of it of having to take kind of all that extra time to you know, fulfill this order, that order, respond to these messages, send pictures of these snakes. And
exactly, man. You know,
I can do that because if I get a message at 1:30, I can walk into the next room and take a picture of a snake. But
exactly.
When you're at work,
I do try, man, but a lot of times I'm just out of stuff. But like if I do have something here and somebody's contacting me, I'm like, oh, I do have a snake. I take the time to do my best to treat them, you know, right and get them what they need. But
yeah, that's awesome. So I guess to circle back to the king rat topic. So go through again the morphs that are here, just so we can have that kind of laid out.
T negative albino, T positive albino. We got hypos. I got xanthics now here. We've got nobody's producing any leucistics or the lemon yellows yet. The ivories or the lemon yellows yet. What are there here? Am I missing something? I think that's pretty much the hypos, the T negative albinos and the T positive albinos, I think are like pretty much the only morphs that people are producing here in the U.S.
Okay. Do you have all of those in your collection?
Yeah. I got all. I've got I should be producing some xanthics this year. You know, a bunch of double head stuff, which I'm happy about. But those are probably a lot of that stuff I'm holding back for, you know, to raise it up and then finally get the results I want, you know.
When did the morphs within the king rats kind of start being popularized, more available here in the States?
So I want to say probably, let's see, when was that? God, it's got to be probably, I would say when I started seeing them was probably like 5 to 6 years ago, probably.
Okay.
I started seeing some of this stuff pop up. But it just now, I would say maybe in the last year or two, it just really started to catch on now. Like people are starting stuff and they're like, holy crap, what is this? You know, everybody trying to get in on it. So
yeah, I remember probably about 10 years ago or so, or maybe even a little bit longer, just, you know, knowing what king rats were, seeing them, looking at available stuff. And it was like king rat, albino king rat. That was it.
Yeah.
to see what all the axanthic and everything that you're working with. I'm like, where the hell do these all come from? It's I thought that was just albino and normal.
Yeah, and then plus there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't even know what the hell it is. We know it's some kind of morph, but we don't know the mode of inheritance, the gene, how it works. So there's a lot of stuff, man. There's some people here with some cool stuff, man, that are getting ready to do some cool things, and we find out how these genes work and some of these not so known morphs.
I remember seeing something that was like called like a tiger or a tiger stripe or something like that. Is that?
Yeah, the zebra.
Zebra. Okay. So what's the deal with those animals?
So basically, those are unit animals.
Okay.
And over there, they just have like that phenotype, man, where they're just banded like really tight bands together. It almost looks like a zebra. And sometimes those bands go all the way down to the tail, whereas, the other ones, usually a pattern, it stops and it's just patternless through the tail. These kind of go all the way down, some of them. And there's just so many crazy ones in unit. There's like these really pink looking ones, like pink and black almost, and pink and white. And it's just cool, man. There's just so much stuff over in China that it's so hard to get your hands on any of that stuff, man.
Sure.
But we see it. There's a lot of farmers over there that what they do over there is, they're farming these snakes, so they're big snakes, and they eat them over there. Mm-hmm. And so on these big farms, sometimes like out of these eggs, they'll get like some kind of crazy morph pops up. And so they know they can make money on it. And then they morph, and there are breeders that breed king rats in China, but they don't know what the morph is or how it works. They just take these morphs and then they start mixing all kinds of stuff together. So we got to do the work here to figure out how it works and what it is, because they'll just make up some crazy weird name or something to it, and we have no idea what the hell it is.
Yeah,
but that's how stuff comes to be. Sorry.
Interesting. No, that's really interesting. Because I feel like typically we're like, oh, just popped up in the wild, and the collector was like, that's different. I can get a lot of money for it. But the fact that they're actually being farmed for meat and they're popping up that way, because that's like with alligators. Most of the albinos just pop up in the meat farms.
Yeah.
Skin farms. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. These farms there, I'm talking, they're massive. I remember during COVID, I was getting pictures from my friends in Europe, and so they remember they thought the COVID came from the bat and the wet market. So the government was going around to these farmers that were farming all these snakes and stuff, and I just seen videos of them taking barrels, dude, of king rat snakes and just throwing them in this pit with fire, dude. It was horrendous, dude. I was like, unbelievable, man. They were just taking these snakes and just tossing them right in the fire, thousands of them.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's like kind of that's the level they're on, dude. They're like, they got thousands of snakes at these farms, man, like just piled up, and it's crazy. Like some of these videos I see, it looks like they're keeping them all together in like these like mud kind of like buildings.
Okay.
And they'll have like almost like a cinder block looking thing on the ground with like wood over it, and then they'll flip that thing up, dude, and they'll just be all together. And it's crazy because king rat snakes are known to eat other snakes and sometimes eat each other. And these things are all together, but they're all like, they're giants. And I remember looking at some of these pictures of these people in their videos, and I'm like, holy cow, some of them are just gorgeous animals that I wish I could get my hands on, man. But they're eating them. So
are these kind of more like kind of bush league backyard type of operations, or?
I think it's like yeah, backyard jungle type. Poor people out there just trying to make a living.
Sure.
It's just the nature of the beast there, I guess.
Yeah.
Different lifestyle, man.
Yeah. Wow, that is. I mean, it makes sense considering probably some of the circumstances of these communities over there, but it's just so it's so different than anything that we would expect here in the U.S. Like you drive by a chicken farm, you think nothing of it.
Yeah.
If you saw a king rat snake farm in the middle of Florida or Texas, you'd be like, "What the hell is this place?"
Yeah. But it's crazy too, because like I'm also like, I mean, I follow a lot of people because a lot of Chinese people love my page because they love the Baron Tracers a lot too, and I just get a lot of Asian followers, and a lot of the people there keep really good snakes too. Like
Oh, for sure.
collections there are amazing, you know. So like you said, it must be like off the beaten path, like out in the jungle somewhere where they're doing these snake farms. I don't know exactly, you know, where they're doing them, but they're definitely not in like the civilized area city.
Yeah. Why I asked was I was curious because I wouldn't be surprised if there were like real professional, like laboratory quality
Oh, I'm sure.
farms for the sake of consumption. You know, because like with other species, with rodents and stuff like that, there's massive facilities in China that, you know, produce the hell out of a lot of different animals.
And they got a lot of state of the art technology and stuff there, so I'm sure they got something.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, because I intersect with a lot of people from South Korea and Japan with the scrub pythons. The market in those countries is absolutely massive. And but yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of really great keeping and breeding going on over there in Asia. And it's it must be nice to have that stuff so accessible, you know.
Yeah.
It's like how the Europeans feel about like our king snakes, rat snakes, rattlesnakes, stuff like that. You know, they're like, it's all right there. What the hell? And we don't really think twice about it.
Yeah.
Like Indonesia to be just south of you or you know whatnot, that would be crazy for someone like me, you know.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so I think Europe got ahead of us too with all the stuff that they have there. I think it's a lot easier for them to get stuff, you know, through Europe. So a lot of breeders over in Europe have some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, rat snakes go and stuff. They're doing some pretty cool stuff over there. There's over there, my friend Adam's got a snow line. He bred the Xanthic to a T positive female, and then held all those babies back, and then finally bred them all back together. He finally got, you know, some snows. There's two phenotypes. There's a light colored one that comes out, and it's a real pale, kind of almost looks like a pale T positive, and then the other one is like a darker pink, like which looks like your normal kind of T positive look.
Okay.
It's like a darker kind of pink color. So he's thinking that the lighter color are probably the snows, but we're still raising them up to see what's going on. And I think I'm seeing some of that color start to change a little bit, like where the yellow bars are starting to turn. But it takes time. The king rat snake genetics are really weird how they work. There's stuff on some of these snakes that don't start happening, like changing until like 5 years down the road. Weird. His female, the T positive that started the snow line, just at 9 years old, decided to lose like half of its yellow color. And it's like a white and pink snake now, but it just has a little yellow down on the bottom, but it's like white, totally white and pink. It's weird, man. So the genetics with those are weird. There's some other stuff like where these snakes they start off yellow and black, almost kind of like a normal, but they have like a silver eye, and then all of a sudden they lose all the yellow and it just turns to black pigmentation. So, and they're not really sure what that is. So
So it was like an IMG boa or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of like how IMG works in the boas.
Wow. And so a lot of these morphs are they're starting up in Europe and then they're making their way over to the States.
Yeah. So, well, my friend at Colubrids, Augusta and Mattia, they, I think they got their hands on the first of those animals. And I think a couple of them ended up over here in the States.
Okay.
And then they have some that they're working with. So they're trying to find the mode of inheritance of that and how it works. But, you know, like it might take 4 or 5 years now, because these hatchlings from these snakes, they got to raise them up now. Because nobody's seen the babies of them. They all came in as adults, you know. So now you got to figure out how it works and everything. And it just takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So with the Snow Project, is the goal to make an all white king rat?
No, actually, it should be like a white and pink, like a white and pink snake. Snow should be. Yeah, but I mean, once you get to that point, then you got all these other, you got hypo, and you know, now you got these lemon yellows. There's granite too, which I think it's supposed to be like a 3 gene combo, but they're still not sure how it works. If it's if it's a dominant trait, incomplete dominant, or recessive. So some of that stuff's going to get proven out here pretty soon, which is cool.
Wow.
That snake almost looks like a what the hell, like a calico, almost like a. It's like it's got the yellow undertone, like the whole body. Say it would have like that yellowy kind of goldish undertone, and then it has just like broken up speckling all over, like black speckling all over it, and a little bit of like orange in there. It's really strange.
I need to see a picture of this snake. That sounds incredible. I can't even really picture what it looks like, but it sounds fucking mind blowing.
When we're done, I can send you some pictures.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Wow. So they're really, I mean, there's a super bright future with these snakes as far as all of this stuff goes, it seems, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're just starting to see some of the stuff. Plus, oh yeah, I forgot there's anery as well, which is proven recessive, which I have some of those. I'm trying to make some double hets to get some different stuff. I'm just going right for the double hets instead of trying. I was going to try and produce some more aneries, but I think I just want to go straight to double hets, and
yeah,
I think it'll be better to create hets with it than putting the two back together. And
what seem to be the differences between the aneries and the axanthics?
So the anery will retain the yellow pigmentation with the anery. So basically, the head usually stays nice and yellow, and then the body usually gets really dark. But as hatchlings on the anery babies, they hatch out all gray, and they'll have like a silver gray eye because they lack the red pigmentation, but they retain the yellow. So the whole rest of the body, the yellow stays the same, but it seems like the black gets blacker, and the yellow, just for some reason, is like a brighter yellow.
Huh.
And with the axanthic will hatch almost kind of like a normal. I don't know if you're familiar. I just talked about this, but I don't know if you're familiar with mandarin rat snakes, especially
for sure.
The axanthic. They start off yellow and black, and then they lose and they turn white and black.
Yeah.
Well, it's the thing how it kind of works with these king rat snakes. They start off almost like a normal color. They'll retain yellow, and then they lose the yellow as they age, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then basically becomes white and black, and the eye still has a red eye because it still retains. It loses yellow pigmentation, but retains the red pigment in the eye. So,
wow,
snake has pretty much a normal eye, but it's black and white.
It's so interesting how those two phenotypes kind of both exist, because I feel like a lot of species you either have an axanthic kind of phase or an anery-ish phase, and rarely do you see kind of both within the same species. That's pretty cool.
There's all kinds of stuff out there, man. Like I said, it's just mind-boggling trying to figure it out. But
yeah, is there any efforts being done to make T-negative snows?
I already just did that, man. Hopefully, we'll see. I just so the eggs I was just talking about that I got from the king rat snake was a T-negative albino female, and I have a male who's he's visual T-neg albino, but he's visual for I think both T-positive and T-negative because both, and he's got like his eye is like ruby colored eye. It's different than a regular T-neg. So there's definitely something there, but something going on there. We're not sure exactly, but so he was bred to that T-negative female first, and then he's a little on the small end. And the breeding, I never usually see locks with them. They're very secretive. So
interesting.
They're locking, and I'm not seeing it, but I'm getting eggs. So he was he was paired first to her. And then after that, because he was on the smaller end, just to make sure that she was bred, I threw that axanthic male on her. So when these eggs hatch, I should know which ones, whether or not I got 2 sperm donors or not. At least I'll know that the T-negs are the T-negs from him, and then the ones that look normal should be the double het for, which I could make some possibly T-neg snows with. So.
Wow.
That's what's going on with that. So that's kind of cool. That's a really cool clutch I'm waiting for. I can't wait till that hatches and see what comes out.
Yeah, that's badass. What are like your goals kind of on like a yearly basis? Like, do you have like a number of clutches you want to hit of king rats, or the different pairings you're shooting for typically? Like what's
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of weigh it out because, there's stuff that I'm still raising up that I'm trying to do. But yeah, I kind of look over what I have and just see what's the best option, what's there, and just try and just do the best pairings that I can,
Yeah.
And there's things I have in my head that I want to do and stuff, but
yeah. Do you have like a dream like scale of production that you want for your king rat project, or kind of playing it by
yeah, just playing it by just enjoying the hobby of keeping them, really. I mean, I didn't even really think about that's a good question, but yeah, no, I haven't even really, I guess I think ahead, but I'm not like looking like, oh, I got to get here necessarily.
Sure.
I mean, I'm fun with it, just pairing these things up to see what I can do. It's kind of how, but I think the end goal is probably, I'm pairing them because I want to get to here, and get this stuff.
Well, just, for most people, like for me, I have a limited amount of space, and, king rats they're not hunter and milk snakes,
they get big and they're, take up a lot of.
Exactly. So like, for me in a room where I have, 35 breeder scrub pythons, I could have 1,000 breeder corns or, milks or kings or whatnot.
So, well, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, man, because it's just me taking care of all these things. But honestly, it's kind of like relaxed time for me when I go in there and just do my jams and start cleaning cages. And because now I'm cleaning cages and I'm pulling out these snakes and I'm looking at them, I'm going, man, this snake's awesome. I love this snake, and I just go down and sometimes I just pull them out and I'm just like, man, I love this snake. And I don't know, I just sit there and look at the snakes, dude.
Yeah. I feel like if you find yourself where you're not doing that anymore, you've probably gone too far.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you lost interest or something. It's not fun anymore. It's supposed to be fun, I don't want to keep it that way.
Yeah, exactly. That's especially for me, like considering this is all I do, it's something I got to really be on top of like making sure that I'm not too deep into the work side of it to where, it's no longer fun anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know what I can maintain and what I can't. And right now I'm pretty comfortable with what I can maintain. So I'm not going to get in over my head because to me, it's not fair to the animals. I want to treat animals the best I can and care for them properly. So if I'm not caring for my animals properly, then I wouldn't do it, So
yeah, absolutely. So any last kind of thoughts or topics on the whole king rat subject that you don't think we've hit that we probably?
No, not really, man. I think we covered pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, I would say, tell people to reach out to you if they want to inquire, but it seems like that might be a lost cause.
Well, I might have some stuff. I might have some, maybe some Xanthics available this year, or some het Xanthics. I mean, you got to start somewhere at some point, I mean, I started for everything from hatchlings, man, to get to where I'm at. So, I mean, it's cool that, if you get in early with this stuff, you'll have some stuff, that's pretty damn cool. And plus they're just cool snakes anyways, so you can't go wrong. You'll have
Yeah, that's what I love is like, having animals that I want to breed. I know there's a market value for them and a demand, but also they don't need to be sold on that idea. They're just badass in general. And
yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Well, speaking of a badass snake that's cool to keep, let's pivot over to the Spilotes section. All so right. I know it's a smaller number than your king rats, but what and we'll lump the sulphureus in with this. What's the Spilotes collection?
So the Spilotes, so my main Spilotes right now would be my Veracruz tiger rat snakes. Those are my babies. I love them a lot, and they do really well for me. Then I have, it sucks. I think I was telling you before, but when we had talked, it sucks. I used to have a pair of Costa Rican animals, and then I had a pair of Guyana Shield animals, and unfortunately I had a problem, and I lost the two males of both localities, and due to an AC problem. I had a vent on the back of my standalone AC that came off probably in the middle of the night or sometime in the late evening. And when I got home from work, it was just blowing hot air right onto those two cages that were next to it. And that just happened to be my tiger rats that were there, the two males. So they cooked. I cooked them. But luckily, I didn't lose the whole collection. You know, that could have been a disaster. Every snake was in its water bowl, you know. So anyway, so I have those two females, which eventually I'd like to get some males for them if I can find the right ones.
Sure.
And then I have the Spilotes sulphureus, which is awesome. And that came in. I actually got that snake as a hatchling at Daytona. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago now? I can't remember. I'd have to look in a notepad. But yeah, I got that one as a hatchling. It was supposedly a wild caught, like tiny. It was like, I don't know if you could see my fingers, but it was not even a foot long, right around a foot, like a pencil, you know. And I got that from Underground Reptiles at Daytona. I was like, dude, this snake, it's just, someone's got to do something with this snake. And I was walking around the table and I seen it and I was like, I said, hey, dude, what's up? Like, what's up with this Spilotes you got here? He's like, oh, it's, you know, it's a wild caught. It's a female. You know, it's the only one we got and it's been eating. I'm like, okay. So I said, can I see it? So I pick it up and I start inspecting it and I'm like, you mind if I check it? You know, so I pop it, and of course it's a male and it's not even a female, dude. And I do it right in front of the owner, and he looks at the guy, and he's like, oh, you know, knucklehead.
blame the employee.
And so I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? And he's like, just how about with $200 do it? And I said, I'll take it. $200, I'll do it. I'll take it and I'll see what I can do with it. So I brought it home and I quarantined it out on my patio in a nice cage and like a what was it? It was a like a smaller exoterra. I set it up outside, and it was warm out still because that's in August. So
that's pretty awesome. To go to quarantine outside, that's a good little setup.
Yeah, I figured, you know, being outside in the nice heat, natural temps and stuff would probably be the best thing for it. So I set it up real nice, and I fed it right away. I think I fed it like a pinky right off the tongs. I just waved it in front of its face, and it kind of flicked, and then boom, just bit it and then swallowed it. And then after that, I just started dropping them in like a little deli cup in there, and he would just come down and eat them. So that snake now is freaking gorgeous too. Let me tell you, man, it's super high yellow and black. And now it's probably like 3.5, 4 feet long.
Wow.
It actually did really well. So I quarantined it out there for probably like 4 months or something like that. And it was good to go. So now it's in my collection. But yeah, so those are the Spilotes that I have. And I have some success with breeding the Veracruz.
Yeah.
I've had some success and I've had some failures. When I first got them, I actually got a trio of them. It was 2 females and 1 male. Okay. And when I got them in, the female was on the skinny side, so I put her by herself and quarantined her and took, you know, special care of her to bulk her up. And the other female was good, so I cohabbed them together in a cage that I have, that I like one of my custom built cages. And the first year that I had them, I witnessed they copulated, and I'm like, oh man, they're freaking breeding, man. Am I gonna get eggs, you know? And so I set a box in there, you know, lay box, put it down in the substrate, nice hole to one end. And sure enough, man, she laid eggs in there, and it's been consecutive now for 3 years in a row. I've been getting eggs from that Veracruz female, and she's even double clutched for me, and I've got viable eggs the second time. So the first time, I think I had 6 eggs, and I only hatched 1 female out of the first clutch. The other ones all pipped the egg, but I saw them pipped in the morning before I went to work. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let them do their thing when I come home from work. They should be good, you know. I got home from work, and 1 was out. That was the one female that survived. And then the other ones were just pipped, but they never came out. So I cut a window, and when I cut the window, I poked them a little bit. I got no response, so they had drowned in the egg. They pipped it, they sliced it, but they just got lost. They couldn't get out. I don't know. Weren't strong enough. I'm not sure.
That sucks.
The following year, I think I got the first clutch. I can't remember exactly. I might have got 4 or 5 good snakes out of that clutch.
Okay.
The double clutch, I think I lost a couple and to the same type of deal. And then a few of them were able to get out of the egg. So I actually, it always sucks because usually when the Veracruz are hatching, I'm fishing down in the Keys for a week. So I have a come over to the house, and I even told him, that's what happened. I remember now. I told him, I said, listen, dude, I've been having a problem with the Veracruz not getting out of the egg. I said, cut a huge window. Once you see them, they're pipping. I said, take the razor, cut a huge window in that egg, make sure they can find it.
Yeah.
And he cut a pretty big window in that egg, he's like, oh, it's good. He sent me the picture. He said, I think it's good. I said, I hope so, man. Sure enough, dude, like 3 of them still with a big window didn't come out. And when I pulled them out of the egg, they were not kinked up. There was nothing wrong with them. They were just fully developed snakes, just dying in the egg, man. But now that I got a good group of them, and those things eat like that, man. Like right out of the egg, I throw a little live pinky in there, and they're on it. I mean, I have no problems getting. They're one of the easiest snakes to get feeding.
That's awesome.
And they grow really well. I mean, those things grow fast. So, but yeah, I've had, I guess you would say mediocre to good success with them, being that I was actually able to get some Veracruz, which aren't really in the hobby,
Well,
So,
I'd say great considering what maybe you'd say Jason Hood's the only other person consistently producing tiger rats maybe in the country.
Yeah, there's another guy, that guy Tom Davis. He's another Florida guy.
Okay.
Like I was saying before, I think Florida, we can attribute a lot of our weather to success with breeding. I think it might have something to do with it. I don't know, but it seems like the Florida guys are doing pretty good with the Spilotes, and then you got, what is it, Joe Monahan? I think does pretty well as well. But there's a few people. I think there's a few people that breed them, but
not many.
Yeah, not many that have the Mexicanas. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you this probably after the show, but since it came up, I want to ask you now about the double clutch. So I think we were talking beforehand. I've had a few Spilotes drop this year, but I've only gotten infertile eggs. But I think it was probably associated with moving, and then I had my display cages for them, but they were just in pieces. So I had them in big tubs for a while, and I just don't think it was a good setup for them. That's where they were breeding. But with my Yucatons, I put the male in the display cage while the female was gravid. I just let her lay in the tub because I felt maybe she'd just be more comfortable in there just to get it all over with. She slugged out, got her back on food, fed her up well. And I just yesterday put her in the display cage with him, just to be like, okay, I think she's ready now, where she's got enough weight back on her. And he immediately started courting her. Actually, yeah, it was yesterday. Immediately, he started courting her. And I'm like, do Spilotes double clutch?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. So, but obviously you've had it happen. So what was that process like for you? How long after the first clutch did the second clutch come?
Damn, I'm trying to think. I would say it had to be maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4 months. I'd have to go back and look. I couldn't give you the accurate time frame, but it might have been 3 months, 2 months, something like that. I can go back after, and I can find those pictures and tell you exactly what.
If you have time, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm just curious because I figured it was probably she probably needed more recovery time to get back to it,
but I got the eggs were good. They were fertile eggs, and I was able to hatch base. So there's a good possibility that you might end up with some fertile ones this time. I
sure hope so. When you got the,
need you to get some so we can do a swap.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were doing that, did you keep the pair? I guess I'll preface this question with another question. When your Spilotes are gravid, are you pulling the males, or are you keeping the males in while they're gravid?
Yeah, no, they cohab the whole time. I don't ever separate them. They're together all the time. And the female, she seems to be more a little bit of a hider, where the male, he's on display 24/7. He's never down in the hide ever. He's all on a stick the whole time. I mean, he's like an arboreal snake, like totally. It's crazy. But the female, she's a little bit more secretive. She likes to hide a little bit more. I'll come out sometimes, and she's out basking and stuff like that. But she's not out usually too long. She's usually back in her hide. but yeah, they I want to say, I think it's March is when I usually see them courting, but I think this year it might have been like towards the end of February. Like I'll come home and I'll find them just locked up, you know, and it's probably because I started heating it up a little bit sooner than normal. But and then I just seen them locked up not too long ago again, so they've locked up multiple times now, and
Wow.
she seems like she's I don't necessarily look like she's holding eggs yet, but she's acting like she's kind of moving around more, I've noticed. So maybe she is. I don't know. Maybe she could be. I'll know. It's very easy to see it in them. They show their eggs pretty well. But
Yeah.
towards the end, you'll know, like she starts when they're getting ready to lay eggs, she'll be all over the cage just looking for her spot, man. Just constantly and stop for a few days, and then eventually she'll goes into her lay box and she just does her thing in there.
Interesting. Good to know. Yeah, because for me, they were in their tubs, so I couldn't see really a whole lot of different behaviors out of them. The only thing that I noticed was that they obviously they stopped eating, and then they were a lot less reactive when I opened the tub. You know, I'd open the tub and they would, you know, they would be like, "Oh my God," freak out. But
Yes.
then when they were gravid, it was like, huh?
It's funny, like mine eat, like I feed them even when she's gravid, she still kind of eats. So I got to feed her a smaller meal. I just want to give her something for some nutrition, you know. But they don't ever seem to go off feed. The male always eats, and the female usually do. Like even when she's gravid, she'll still put some food down, which is, you know, some snakes do go off feed when they're, you know, looking to lay or gravid or.
Yeah, that's interesting because the my Veracruz, she went off food. The Yucatan ate one chick while gravid, and that's for a second I was just like, "Are you really gravid?" But it was, you know, not much of a feeding response, and she only wanted one. And then the Pilatus that laid slugs, she also went off of food when she was gravid. So
yeah, well, you know what you're doing, man. You know when they want to eat, when they don't. If they don't, then they don't. You know, but
yeah.
they know what they need. So
Yeah, well, I just find it interesting because, like, for me, you know, with majority of the animals I breed being pythons, and then kind of secondarily being vipers. You know, with the pythons, they'll never eat while they're gravid. But then with the vipers, you know, they're gravid for the better part of a year, so they're eating up until maybe about a month before they have their litters. So it's always interesting for me to kind of like compare and contrast how different snakes kind of treat that process, because it's definitely not a one size fits all answer. Because for me, like with the pythons, you know, that's a big indicator for me of where they are in their cycle is
go off and stuff.
Exactly, but that's, you know, with the Spilotes, probably not quite so much of a tell.
Yeah, it just, you know, who knows, man. Different snakes, just do different thing. I don't know, man. Who knows? But I just hope eggs, man. Some good viable eggs.
Yeah. So you've had 3 years in a row, but then 4 clutches of them because you have the double clutch.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
1 year. Yep.
How many total babies has that yielded you?
Oh, man, I'd say close to a dozen.
Okay.
Something like that, I would say.
Yeah.
They're small clutches, though. They're only like 6 at a time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
so, yeah. So I don't know. I never really, I could always go back. Like if I needed to know something, I always go back to pictures, but I'm not good at like writing the stuff down or keeping that good of a track on how many, you know, but I would say in there maybe 10 or 12, maybe, I don't know, something like that.
Have you held a decent amount of them back to kind of create a founder stock?
Yeah. So I've got, what do I got? I got 1.2 that I held on to, and I was going to hold on to some more, but I ended up just, you know, people were wanting them. So I go, and I still have 2 that I don't really post, but I was maybe going to bring them with me to Daytona, but they're just 2 males that I have. So.
Okay. Very cool.
But yeah, but I got a big group. There's only so many like you can keep. I don't want to keep like a giant group of those. I mean, especially if you start producing some of your Veracruz, I would love to add that in there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have other localities within Mexicanus or even Pilatus that you would like to add in the future?
Yeah, well, it's a damn shame that I lost the other males that I had for the other females, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got a friend that does have a nice Guyana shield animal that I can use, and he's like a real dark animal too, so that pair nicely. I think he's just a little small yet, but
Okay.
but eventually I'd like to have my own, a nice Costa Rica male, and which is probably almost impossible to get. I'll have to contact Joe Monahan. I think he keeps the Costa Rican locale, and
Okay.
so, but eventually, yeah, it just hasn't been like something that I've just been like, oh, I got to go get this right now. I'm just waiting for the right animal, I think, to pop up.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's, it's a good way to do it. If I wish more people would kind of approach their projects that way, because there's there'd be far fewer snakes changing hands a dozen times in their lives.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's awesome. The next species I want to talk on is the Barons racers. Those I've never kept Barons racers. They've always kind of been on that like wish list for me. What you have a pretty decent group of those, don't you?
Dude, those and King Rats, I think I got the most of. I mean,
Okay.
People don't know how many Barons racers I've actually got, dude. But I've got a lot of Barons racers, man. So,
the real question is, do you know how many you have?
not off the top of my head. No.
A lot would be the answer.
Yeah. So I got 8 adult females right now, but I've got other ones that are coming up that are going to be of size probably next year.
Wow.
And I got probably 4 or 5 adult males, I believe.
Okay.
So, and yeah. So, where are we going with that? Yeah, Barons racers are awesome.
For sure. You have all 3 color phases, correct?
Yeah, I've got greens, I've got the browns, and I've got the blues. The browns aren't ready to breed yet. They're still probably need another year or so.
Okay.
And I got a friend of mine sent me a really cool project. So he's got a green female that I got from him that was from a blue to a brown pairing, produced that green animal. So I paired that green animal to a blue. So now we can try and figure out exactly how the genes work. We're not sure if it's a recessive trait or a line bred polygenic or
Interesting.
what. So my theory is that it's recessive, because whenever I breed a blue animal, and I've held back a ton, and I've held back the darkest, greenest hatchlings that came from a blue to blue pairing, and the bluest ones, because some of them hatch out pretty noticeably blue.
Okay.
But after some take a year, some took all the way up to 3 to almost 4 years to turn blue. So these green animals that are in these clutches end up turning some sort of blue. So, and there's different shades of the blue. Some are like a light, cloudy blue, sky blue, and then some are like a deep, dark blue with like electric color blue on their throat, through their sides and everything all the way down, which those are probably my favorite. And then there's some that are like, they're not green, they're like a aqua blue or something like that. They almost look like they could be like almost like a minty blue kind of color like that, but they're not green, because there's definitely green animals that are like noticeably these are green. These are definitely like a blue color, but they're just shade of blue. So I don't know exactly. My theory is it's a recessive trait, but I'm not sure.
The blue being the recessive?
Yeah. Because I'm yet to have one that turns green from a clutch like that, and I probably have.
Yeah.
I probably went through about at least 6 different really green ones just to test out the theory, and it's been the same every time.
Sure. Which is interesting, because I feel like if you were to think about, like, okay, let's say this is a green tree python and you have brown, green, and blue, and be like, okay, well, obviously the blues are the ones that are like the pinnacle, hardest to get. The browns are the one that you can give or take. But it's the opposite with Barons racers, where the blues are everywhere, greens are rare, and there's like maybe 5 browns in the country, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Well, I think they're all pretty damn rare right now. It's hard.
True.
To get anything. I mean, Um, well, blues are definitely the most popular right now, but I would say it's probably easier to get a green than a blue. There might be more blues out there, but
Oh, really?
they're just not. Yeah, I think
Okay.
they're probably just not selling them here because the market's so high that they're leaving the country. You know, people are paying $2,000 for a hatchling blue, so they'll buy everything. So they're just gone. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. No, that makes sense for sure. So what is the deal with the brown Barons racers? Because I mean I didn't think I even knew that they existed probably until about 10 years into knowing what Barons racers were. And I mean I've seen pictures of one that you have and like maybe one or two others ever.
Yeah. So the brown is actually like in the wild, the brown and the green are the most common. And I've talked to people that live over in Argentina and stuff, and they keep snakes and they're out in the field and stuff. And they say like blue is super rare, even over there. We thought it was like a locality thing, but we can't really get the right information. I think if you go on iNaturalist, there's some stuff on there, but
Okay.
so like the brown is like a dominant trait. And then green as well. Like you can breed, I think, a brown to a green and get browns and greens.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still. I don't think anybody really knows exactly everything.
It's confusing as well.
It's confusing too because we don't know exactly how many came over here from wild ones and how many lines have been bred down the line that are blue, and so it could be, I guess, a line thing as well. But if the line is so refined to blue throughout, you're just going to probably just end up with a lot of blues, is what I'm thinking.
Sure. Yeah.
But being that you get greens that pop up when you breed two blues together, and like the clutch, it looks like there's greens, but they turn blue. That's kind of weird too. You think they would all look the same, but I don't know, man.
So have there been blues like historically collected and found in the wild on like a somewhat of a routine basis, or is it maybe the thing where there've been a couple maybe and started captive lines?
Yeah, well, I know that a lot. Like, I don't know, it must have been 10 years ago or so, or maybe a little less. I think a lot of wild ones imports came in at one point, so there was some diversity there. But as far as now, I think it's just got so lost down the. I think John Michaels had some. I know Chris Sharp. There's another guy too, and I can't remember his name. He had got some wild ones in too. That's Chris told me about that. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird to me, and especially because I don't have a bunch of information on it. It's interesting to try to piece all the pieces of the puzzle together of what makes Barons racers genetics what they are.
Yeah, it is. And it still kind of puzzles me with some of it, but I'm trying to work on it. At least hopefully I know something. This pairing, this green that came from a blue to a brown pairing that produced this green.
Yeah.
This blue male tags her and she lays eggs, then I should know when these eggs hatch whether or not it's recessive or not, because I should get blue animals.
Yeah.
You get some blues in there. It might be blues, browns, and greens. Who knows? Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And then you'd be like, okay, now what?
Well, I'm not much of a genetic guy either, dude. So don't I'm really like, the genetic thing is kind of new to me with all the morphs and stuff. Like the king rat actually got me into that because I'm more of like, I like the natural look of a lot of the snakes and stuff. But just with the king rats, it kind of just got me into it more. And then being that I keep the Barons racers and I have so many, I can actually do what needs to be done to try and help figure out what the hell's going on, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Well, hopefully we find out. But on the husbandry side, what's your setup like for your Barons racers? Obviously, same room, same temperatures, same everything.
Yeah, all that stuff's going to be the same. And of course, I got the lighting on them. I got a high output LED up top, and it cycles, the regular light cycle. But so yeah, I just keep it. They're very simple to keep. Honestly, they're as easy as a corn snake, really. Like as far as their care, they eat like champs. I mean, they eat everything. But I just keep them on Aspen right now. I got them on Aspen, and a big water bowl, hide, and they are like semi-arboreal. So,
Okay.
got, branches set up in there for them. They perch a lot. They coil up there underneath the light. I mean, they really like that. So they make great display animals. But their care is very simple, man. It's very easy. Basically, I just feed them and give them water and clean their poop, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much to it. There's nothing special. It's not like they need like a lot of humidity or anything like that. So they can handle, I think, a range of different type of environments. I think they can handle even like a higher humidity even too, where they come from. I think they have a lot of different type of habitat there. So, but to me, they're kind of like similar to like what our black racer is here. Like their habits seem very similar.
Okay. What size enclosures are you using for your adults?
So I got them in a 48 by 2 by 2.
Okay.
48 long, 2 wide, 2 high.
Cool.
Yeah. Glass enclosure, or glass front enclosure, PVC. It's basically it. And then, I have some in a little different setup, but it's basically the same principle. I just have a different substrate in there, and it's a more taller cage. That's it. It's, you can keep them pretty much however you want. You wouldn't want to keep them wet or anything stupid like that,
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Cool. Yeah. What's like sexual maturity age on them?
So the females get huge. The females get bigger than the males. The males stay kind of small. But 3 years old, they're pretty much, you can get them pretty big, and they can breed at 3 years old. But typically, I like to wait till 4. But they're just, like I said, they're eating machines too. Those things won't stop. They'll just eat. And so like when they're little like that, I think it's fine. They got a fast metabolism. So you could every 3 to 4 days, and they're passing stool. So they're good, and they just grow and grow. So even at like some of mine that they're not even a year old yet, and they're probably 3.5, almost 4 feet long already. I mean, by next year they would be like breedable size, but I don't know. Probably won't breed them, but
sure. Are you doing that with a lot of your raised ups, where you're giving them kind of multiple meals a week?
On some of them, yeah. I breed my own rodents and stuff.
Okay.
So it's easy for me to just walk in there and grab a few out real quick and just drop them in there,
Yeah.
And then, of course, like usually I dedicate one of the days out of the week to really thaw out a lot of stuff and really feed like everything at once, So.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. That's cool that you breed your own rodents. What's your setup like for that?
You'll probably laugh. So I just have the wood rack, with the cement tubs.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm constantly on it, keeping it clean and everything. So, but I use Missouri rodent food, the rodent chow. It's actually a rodent breeder. I use the rodent breeder, Missouri, and I heard you say another thing, dude. I keep mice in the rack, and I keep rats in this rack, and they're side by side. And luckily, knock on wood, I had no problems with like
good,
them eating each other or anything like that. I guess you were saying that's the first time I heard that. I never knew that I guess if there's rats close by with the mice, sometimes the mice will, what do? They eat each other or something like that, or they eat their babies? What do they do?
Or they just won't breed. They won't be prolific. They just always seem stressed out.
Gotcha. Huh. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm lucky, I guess, man. I have no idea. It must be the Florida weather, bro.
It could be, one thing that like is probably the one way to navigate that to a degree is if your mice are around the rats from before they're breeding, and they have time to get used to the scent. I think it's a lot of time the introduction of it, where like if there's mice and then they're breeding, they're doing their thing, rats show up, they're like, oh no, predator, scary, I'm gonna eat all my babies. So
yeah, well, I honestly, dude, if I'm honest, I had the mice first, because I started off with a mice rack and then I got the rats after. But I don't know. Knock on wood, man. I don't know. I'm just lucky.
Well, it's probably a product of just being on top of your rodents and just, no lapses on your end and just kind of keeping everything consistent for them. I bet that's probably what does it.
Yeah, maybe, man. I hope so. I just got to keep at it then.
Do you produce enough to feed everything, or do you buy anything for supplemental?
I do. I feed a lot of different stuff. I actually feed a lot of day-old chicks.
Okay.
I feed, honestly, I feed chicken breast. I cut a boneless chicken breast. A lot of the king rats love that. They love fish too. And then a lot of quail. Feed a lot of, and then I like to supplement vitamins. The Vitamix. I usually use that every time I feed. I'll pour a little bit of that powder on there.
Interesting.
Feed it to them. Yeah.
Do you attribute some of your success to your varied diet methods?
I don't know. I mean, I like a nice, strong, bulky snake. I don't like a fat, obese snake. But I think the feeding is very important. Like a good regimen of feeding. But like my biggest, the 8-foot king rat snake can get really, really hefty. So I actually feed him a little less just to keep him, I think, healthier and down a little bit. Because I've seen some where they're just ginormous, and that's probably not too healthy. But yeah, I think so. I think breeding my own rodents and kind of doing my own food with some of the stuff, like the chicken and the vitamins, it definitely helps. I'm sure.
Yeah. That's a good point about the big one, because I feel like I'm at the same point with some of my spilotes of like, they're full adult size and they're fairly big. Like, if you keep feeding them the way you feed a growing snake, you're pushing a snake that's not meant to grow anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Once they get to a certain size, you can probably slow it down a little bit. It's not healthy being obese, So.
Yeah. I feel like with colubrids, it's a lot more straightforward than pythons or boas, just because of how high the metabolism is. But like, there's been a trend towards feeding less within pythons in particular, probably in the last like 7 or 8 years. That's led to people, in my opinion, underfeeding their young snakes to the point of almost stunting them. But I mean, you can't really do that with a colubrid though, because if you underfeed a colubrid, that thing isn't going to do well.
Oh yeah, no, I like to feed them, and I like to feed them a good meal. Like I want to see a noticeable lump in their belly,
Okay.
I don't want them to be completely gorged, but I want to see a decent lump in there, because I've gone out in the wild. I've caught a lot of snakes in my life, and a lot of the times those snakes have pretty big prey items in their bellies, and you see a lump in there. You know that thing ate something. So as long as a decent lump in there, it should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because I feel like with colubrids, a lot of people err on the side of smaller meals in general, but you got that firsthand experience with the real deal. So that's the evidence you need to know that that's the way to go.
The corn snakes out there, we go underneath the bridge out there and out by the cane fields in Palm Beach County, and we go really early in the morning, and the corn snakes there's like a little gap underneath the bridge, and they ride that at night, and they eat all the frogs or the skinks that are tucked up in the crack. And you'll see them as the sun's coming up, because we get out there really early and we shine the lights under there, and you see them. They're so freaking fat they can't get back into the crack, man. They're huge. It's a little baby corn snake, so they're eating, dude. They're definitely eating stuff.
Oh, that's funny. That was really fucking cool to see, though. That's that's nature right there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was lucky, man. Like when I was a kid, it was funny. I used to play football, a little prep football, and the kid on my team, his dad. That's how I found out about the cane fields, because somehow the dad found out that I love snakes. Was like a collector at the time, I guess. Collecting king snakes back in the day out there was like a pretty big thing. I guess a lot of people did it. They'd put carpets out there and tin and artificial cover, and go out there and flip. So he was the one who actually told me about putting carpet out there and flipping the carpets and catching all the scarlet king or king. That's something that stuck in my head when I was a kid. So when I was old enough to start driving, then I was like, okay, I'm heading out to the cane fields, So that's how I ended up doing a lot of snake hunting out there.
Yeah, that's badass. Yeah, it's always cool to hear different stories like that, because like for me, like I grew up like in the city of Chicago. there wasn't a reptile within probably 45 minutes of me. I mean, there were probably some, some frogs and whatnot in some different parks and stuff, but to be able to be so close to that, it's a really cool, like, kind of dynamic, especially when you're that young.
Yeah, man, I was very fortunate and lucky, man. I had a really great childhood with that, man. So I'm definitely thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to pivot to another species that I know that you're very passionate about, one that I don't keep anymore, but I love them, are the bird snakes, the fire necks. So
they're probably my favorite.
Yeah,
they're just, what a cool snake, man. Just the color change on that thing, and just their behavior and the way they look, just everything about them, just I love, But yeah, so bird snakes. So yeah, going back to, I think it was around 2015, because that's my collection, like where the stuff that I really liked, interests me, is 2015 is where all that stuff started to happen, because
okay.
Looking at these things, and the internet was available, and like all this stuff was coming around that I wasn't, used to doing. I was finding all this stuff. So I think I went on Google, because I remember sitting in, like, we had a little room with, we kept the dog crate in there, and we had a little office with a computer, and I jumped on there, and I Googled big arboreal snakes or something like that. And like these bird eaters somehow, don't ask me how, but I saw a picture of a bird eater on there. So I clicked on it. And then I found out the name. So I looked up the name, and then Jason Hood's page popped up.
Yeah.
And Snakes Unlimited. And it was just his website, and it had a phone number on there. And I was looking at the bird eaters, and like, damn, dude, these things are cool. So I was like, I'm going to call this guy. So I called him up, and I was like, hey, Jay, hey, man, I'm interested in these bird eaters you keep, man. We just started talking about snakes, and we were both from Florida, and he actually used to live right by where I used to live, like where I used to go fishing at Dreher Park. He grew up right there, going to the same park.
Oh, wow.
Older than me. I wonder if my brothers might have known him, because I got 3 older brothers. So it's kind of, it's crazy. Like, we were like right there. And so we were talking bird eaters over the phone, and I was like, do you have any? And he's like, not at the moment, but I got this one, dude, that I have that I might think about selling you, man. So I think he ended up calling me back or something, and he's like, hey, I got this one, I'll sell you. It's maybe a year old or something. It was still like thick phase, it wasn't like a hatchling. And he had a friend that had a shop up in like Fort Pierce or somewhere, I can't remember. And so we drove up there to meet him to get this snake. And when he came, he brought an adult bird eater, and he brought a Spilotes sulphureus. And so I get there, he's like, hey, what's up? We're talking. He's like, all right, man, here, check this snake out. He pulls out the bag, and he drops a bird eater in my hand, and it's the adult. I'm like, oh man, like, as soon as it was in my hand, I'm looking down on it, I'm like, bro, I was in love. I was like, I gotta have these snakes, man. This snake is awesome, dude. And it was just chilling on me, and I'm just looking at it and everything. And I just remember the cool scales on top of the head. Like, they got like really big head scales, and they're so shiny and like iridescent, and they got those cool eyes and that slow tongue flick and everything. And so he's like, all right. I'm like, yeah, man, I love this. This is the coolest snake I ever seen. And he's like, all right, well, check this one out. And he puts a sulphureus in my hands. Dude, this snake's awesome too, man. Like, I'm like, man, I don't know which ones I like better, really. They're both like, they're very similar. Like, I think the this sulphureus is like a cross between like a bird eater and a tiger rat, kind of how I
very much so
describe them, kind of.
From a taxonomic standpoint, you're probably spot on there,
But so anyway, so then he's like, all right, after having that sulphureus in my hand, he's like, here, dude, check this out. Here's your snake. So he takes my snake out and he puts that in my hand. I'm like, oh, bro, this snake is awesome. I can't believe it's going to turn like this. And, he told me a little bit about like, the sexual dimorphism, how the males get bigger and they have the keeled ridges down their back and everything. And the females have the keeled scales down the back, but they're just not as pronounced, so they're sexually dimorphic. You can tell adult males from females just by looking at them. And So I went home with that snake and I got it set up and got that thing eating and learned a lot from just keeping that snake. And that snake started to grow and get big and go through color changes. And it ended up being like a really awesome snake. And that snake wasn't even part of his collection. He had got that snake from another guy. I think I thought it was New York, but it might have been like Chicago or someplace. Some guy I think got it in and couldn't keep it anymore. So that's why Jason hooked me up with that snake, because he was like, Penny, you know, I'll hook you up with the snake, which was really nice of him. And so yeah. So anyways, once I got that snake, you know, and was raising that one up, now I was on the hunt, dude, for Pusillinotus. And I actually I went to a Daytona the one year, and I can't remember, this was a while ago, man, a long time ago. And when you were talking about doing the pro laps, that's what I was doing. I got there, and this is before I even, you know, I just heard your thing the last night about doing the pro lap around, and I'm like, exactly what I was doing, dude. He's right, it's the pro lap, dude. So I would go there to Daytona, and I'd just be like this, boom, in my zone, dude. I just go around each table. I knew exactly where I wanted to go, like skip over pythons, go here, and I came to Snakes at Sunset, Michael Barrera's table.
Yeah.
And you know, he's always got all kinds of imported stuff just all over the table mixed up in there. And I'm looking, and boom, there's a section, dude, with you know, it's got like 4 deli cups just sitting there, and I look at it and I go, they're bird eaters, dude. It's got fucking bird eaters, no way. So I'm like, hey Mike, or I didn't even know his name at the time. I said, hey man, how much are these right here? He's like, I could do 500 for a pair. I'm like, all right, I'll take all of them. So I bought all of them. There was 4 snakes there. I took all of them, you know, I handed them the cash. Boom, done deal. So then I got those home, worked on it. You know, I was good at getting them eating and everything already, man. I teased fed them in my hand. And I think somewhere eating pinkies, just frozen thawed. Like one of them was eating right out of the cup with nothing, you know, just went down there on its own. And you get that sometimes with the babies. I'll talk more about the babies later, but
yes.
Yeah. So then what happened? So then I was on the hunt for even more. I'm like, oh man, I got more. So the next year Daytona came around, and I went to his table, and he had another like 4 on the table, and I bought all those. So now I had those, like 8 of them, and I ended up getting another one. I split a pair with my friend Jesse Dirksen. This girl got some from Joe Swikowski. That's his name. I couldn't remember his name before. And she had got a pair from him, and she wanted to get out of them.
Okay.
I don't want these anymore. I was like, I'll take them. So she sent those to me. I gave the one to my friend Jesse, and then I kept the other one. And I ended up raising those up, and then like basically the rest is history. I got them all big, and I started pairing certain ones up and trying to get the phenotypes that I wanted.
Yeah.
And it's been years now, and finally I'm like at the point where I'm like, I really got it down to, I think, what I'm looking for with the pretty much almost guaranteed, like my honeycombs are going to be what they are, like the emerald green with the yellow, and they got like the black around the yellow. So to me, it looks like a honeycomb. So I just call them honeycombs.
Okay.
Kind of stuck now. And then that male that I got from Jason, I call lavender yellow, because that snake, there's pictures of some on the internet, like iNaturalist. And if you Google Fire Axe Pusillinotus, some like the snake will pop up. There's some that are like, they got like a lavender hue. They're like a pinkish purpley color.
Yeah.
The whole of them are like just that color. Well, this one has that background color, but he's also got yellow, and he's got like a blue to him too. He's like a gunmetal and like blue with this lavender in there. And it doesn't show up on picture, but I got him down pat now because I've got offspring. I finally got like F2s and stuff like that. So now I'm going to cross stuff. Wow. Related now that I got what I want, because I think I'm going to make some really cool other cool stuff. But they're so interesting, man. There's just so much variation that there's just so much you can do with them, I think. And besides me and Jason and the other guy that passed away,
Gavin Brink.
Gavin Brink was another one. He had them as well.
Yeah.
We were kind of back in the day, like Gavin was the pioneer. Jason got me on them, and then now I think I'm probably me and Jason are probably really the only guys breeding them right now, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And there's someone up, maybe 2 people in Europe, I think, spread them too. But yeah, man, it's just, what an awesome species.
Really
Babies are a little tough to get going, but I kind of got like a thing that I do with them now.
okay.
What I do is, like, once they hatch and shed, of course, I'll put like a little deli cup in there, and typically I was setting them up like right when they hatch. I was putting them in like these tall plastic bins, and I was giving them like a branch in there, and then putting them on paper towels with a small water bowl, big enough where they can get inside of it, and a hot. Very, very simple, nothing crazy. Just kind of almost like you would keep like a green tree or something, kind of like set up like that with less humidity.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I'd put that deli cup in there, and then I would take frozen thawed first, like pinkies, drop them in there. And then the next day I'd come back and I'd check, and usually at least a few of them would eat the pinkies. So I would mark that with like a black check mark with a black Sharpie. So I'd know eating pinkies. Then I'd come back the next time and I would drop, I use day-old chick. So I take the day-old chick and I cut the leg off at the hip, and then I cut the, like the knee would be the knee where the foot comes down. So I got that nice little nugget there. I call it a nice little nugget. And I dropped that in the cup. And a lot of the times I would do like at least 75%, if not more, would take that right away. And I noticed, like, if you did it right away, like after they shed, you seem to have more success. If you waited longer, it seems like they would just kind of not want to, and you have to tease them. And if that didn't work, then I would just start picking them up in my hand and tease feeding them. So you want to hold them back like 3 to 4 inches behind the neck. And then I take their tail and I wrap their tail up over my pinky, because when you're holding them, they'll throw their tail over their head and they mess with themselves while you're trying to, get them to eat. So I take a little tong with a pinky, dip it in the water, and you just tap them on the neck with it, and they'll turn and they'll bite. Sometimes they'll bite it and they'll throw it, or they'll bite it and they'll drop it, or they're going to bite it and they're going to hold on to it, and then they're just going to slowly start to eat it, and you're just going to stay as still as you can. You don't even want to look at them, and eventually they'll start eating it that way. But it takes patience. It is work. It takes some time. It takes work to get them going, especially when you have, I think 1 year I hatched out 54 babies. So every single one of those babies eating, dude. And
Damn.
Those snakes, yeah, most of those snakes went, elsewhere. But so a lot of times now what I'm doing, because I think what I found out too, like sometimes even though the babies are eating really well for me and I feel comfortable, I've had times where I've shipped a couple, like to friends of mine, and they went off feed. And I think it has something to do with the shipping of the animal or something. I'm not really sure. Just they didn't like the change of environment or whatever it was.
Sure.
So now I've been holding back like almost every clutch for a year. So
Okay.
I'm putting, I'm feeding these things, I'm getting them up so that now when I'm shipping these snakes, I know they're getting like a big beefy yearling that's way well established. I'm not giving them, a hatching that ate like, 10 times or something,
Yeah. Actually, I know the process all too well. Just with one baby, but I got probably about a 6-month-old from Gavin in.
Oh, really? That's awesome, man.
Well, it ended in tragedy, but I got the snake probably in about, I think it was 2017, and he explained to me what you just said about the hand feeding, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, but I'll give it a shot. And it would have been an animal that had been feeding for a decent amount of time with him.
Mm-hmm.
I got it back home, and I tried it, and I couldn't get it to work. And he's, we didn't live too far from each other. He's like, all right, I'm going to come over and show you how to feed the snake. And literally, he's just in the basement. He takes the snake, tap, 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 bites it. He just looks at me. He starts doing laps around my room. He's like, don't look at the snake. Don't look at the snake. It eats in like 30 seconds. I'm like, what just happened? I tried for weeks to get anything out of the snake.
Yeah.
And you just got that meal down in 10 seconds. It was
Well, that's a funny story. That's cool, man. Because I like to hear something about Gavin, man. Because me and Gavin talked a lot, man, about bird eaters, man. Gavin was cool.
Yeah, he was
But there's another good trick, and I think it's going to be something. I wish I could take credit for it, but it wasn't my idea. It's actually my friend Kevin's daughter or stepdaughter, Brielle. She took scrambled eggs, dude. She scrambled up some eggs, and she's like, "I'm going to try these eggs," and she put it in there like in a little deli cup. Lo and behold, that snake went in there and ate the eggs, dude.
Wow.
So then now what we're doing is we're doing scrambled eggs, and also you can do hard-boiled egg. Use a hard-boiled egg and just cut it up with a knife into nice, best chunks you can get, little good portions for them. And they seem to really tune into the egg, man.
So it makes sense because these guys they're nest raiding in the wild, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're raiding nests, they're eating eggs, they're eating, baby birds and birds. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was Aaron Heron is his name. You know that?
Yeah, I remember all the Facebook posting and stuff.
Yeah, I think there was a video at one time of him because he had a bird eater at the time, and I want to say he fed that thing like a dead Amazon tree boa or something. Not an Amazon tree boa. I mean, an ATB, man, Amazon tree boa.
That's funny.
Yeah, or something like that. He fed it some kind of snake. I can't remember. I think it was an ATB though.
Wow, that's cool.
I was like, what the hell? What's going on here?
That's hilarious. Yeah. So the unfortunately I ended up losing that snake.
Shame.
It was doing great. It started eating on it like without me having to do the hand thing. And I went to Florida for a weekend for an event, and one of the rodent employees was watching the reptiles. I was like, don't have to do much. You plug these 2 lights in this area, spray this animal, not much.
Mm-hmm.
I come back, and at that time I was living in the snake room. It was super late at night. I woke up in the morning. I turned to the side, and I had a rack there with the fronts were super fogged up. And I'm like,
he sprayed the shit out of it.
No, he plugged the rack in instead of the light bulb.
Oh, he cooked them.
So in that rack was the bird snake, was the first neonate Halmahera scrub python that was ever brought into the U.S. or had been for a long time. Actually, that snake right there, one of my adult male Moluccan scrubs, was in that rack and made it out as a baby. But
it happens, dude. It happens to us all, man. That sucks, though, man.
But the bird snake did not make it out.
Well, I know somebody if you ever need some, dude.
Yeah, I think you do. But but my point of saying that, not just a pity party, was to go into, I didn't get to see that snake through its color change.
Mm.
They take a long fucking time, right?
Dude, usually, typically from the past, they took like 2 years to start seeing the color. Dude, I've got babies now that are like a year and a half, and they're incredible, dude. So I'm like, usually they go from a baby stage to that stick phase. These are from their baby stage right into their colors, dude. And
really?
They're super red. Yeah, already. I just posted not too long ago that red one. I held back the whole clutch, and just because I wanted to, cherry pick what I want. And dude, like I've got some crazy red animals coming out of this clutch that are just incredible. So I can't wait to see how they're going to look as adults,
Yeah. So it's funny because there's a lot of parallels here with the green tree pythons, and a lot of the listeners on this channel are here for green tree pythons. If you think that green tree pythons are tough to feed as babies and take a long time to change color, you should try neotropical bird snakes.
Yeah.
They take that and take it all to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I really like green tree pythons, and
Me too.
Tree boas and stuff. I think they're awesome, and I think they would probably be pretty good for me to keep. But that's just not my thing right now, But they are awesome snakes. I love them, but they're probably similar, if not bird eaters. Like you said, they might be more difficult. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have limited experience with the bird eaters, but from what I've experienced and what I've heard. I'd say
they're close.
they take the those two aspects of green trees of the difficult feeders and then the color change and take them up to a new level. But that is interesting what you said about the ones that were skipping the stick phase. You said, was it from a particular clutch or like a lineage or?
Yeah. So it's from like a red to yellow line.
Okay.
And, dude, they seem to be so heavy red that I just never seen nothing like it. I'm in shock, dude, like how red they are. I think I posted, Jason was on there. He goes, holy crap, dude. Like he knows because he keeps them, dude. And for them to be at that age, I think he said he wishes he would have held back more animals, but it's difficult, dude. And not everybody has the time to do it. So
yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you get rid of snakes and you're like my friend my friend Kevin Barron has an awesome one, dude, that he got from me that's just turned out phenomenal. And, I'm happy for him, of course, but it's just some of those animals you're like, damn, like that's why you got to hold them back and see. Like if you really serious about trying to, figure out cool lines and do what you want to do, you have to hold them back and cherry pick the ones you want.
Yeah, but, I know very well. I mean, I with the scrub pythons, they change color like within about a year where what they're going to look like. But then like with their pattern and stuff, but then their base color continues to change until they're about 4 or 5 years old. And like I have some that I was like, when they started to change color, I'm like, okay, I can probably let this snake go. I have one male that I offered to a few people and nobody bid on it, that now I'm like, that would be my biggest regret sell ever if I actually had. Because this thing might end up being the most gold barneck scrub python I have. Yeah. And, it wasn't its pattern wasn't quite as extreme as some of its siblings that were nicer, which I still have, and they're phenomenal. But this snake isn't even 2 years old, and I'm like, this is the most gold barneck scrub I've ever had. Yeah. And the thing has 2 to 3 years of improvement to go. Yeah. So, yeah, that's, I guess, for me, that's like my big project, something that, I gotta. If you think it might be a holdback, it's a holdback for a while until it's definitely not a holdback.
Exactly. Then you're like, okay, well, now you can either do it, whatever you got to do with it. And if it's got to go, it can go. But better to hold them and not, wish you had that snake still,
Yeah. But then what's also nice from like a business standpoint is, especially with something like, the bird snake or like a scrub python in my instance, that animal's only gaining value as it gets older.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. Yeah. The more time you put into it, it's gonna be
if you're selling a 3 or 4 year old bird snake compared to like an 18-month-old, you're probably gonna get significantly more money for that snake.
But what I try and do is like my friends that I have that, small group of guys that I'm good friends with in the hobby here, they get my bird eaters. That way I know, like, hey man, if I need to borrow that one for a breeding project or something like that, hey, he's got it. I can count on him.
I did the same thing.
Try and keep it close.
I mean, that's how it needs to be with these animals that are not well represented, because like, with some of like the bird eaters or some of the stuff I have, if you disseminate a lot of them out to different people, you don't keep too many for yourself, and then all of a sudden 10 years later, you can't track down where 90% of them went. It's like, exactly. What did I do all that for?
Yeah, that happens, man. It happens. There was something I was going to say. Now I can't remember. Oh, well. It'll probably come back to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's such an underrated species. Not many people know about them. I actually, we don't do many shows, but I did a local show here with Mike. If you guys don't know, Palm Beach Colubrids isn't just me either. It's my partner, Michael Gillen, and he does a lot of cool California king snakes and the day geckos. He's got some really cool stuff coming out with the day geckos. Like his California king snake collection is probably like second to none, dude. He's got some amazing animals. Really cool coming up. But maybe he'll tell his story one day, dude. You get him on here.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Might need you to co-host on that with me.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because that's obviously, if you're just scrolling through your guys' Instagram, you can't really do like, okay, these are here, these are there. They kind of all blend together. Yeah, that makes more sense now that you explain that to me.
Yeah, it's a weird thing too. You might not know. Like, I know you're following me on Facebook now, but somehow we looked at it. Someone told us like, oh, you got to go look at this. Well, his pictures, like even when he posts his pictures on Instagram, they're going to my Facebook page, and we can't figure out how. So people are commenting like he's got a little girl and I got 2 boys, and there was something about, oh, my daughter loves this, and like people are like, you have a daughter, dude? I'm like, daughter, dude. It's my buddy Mike. So hilarious.
That's funny.
I'm like, whatever, dude. Well, I'm just getting more publicity because of your cool snakes. So
Yeah.
we laugh.
Oh man, that's badass.
It was funny.
That's funny. But yeah, so to round out the Fire Next talk, what's like the size of your adult group right now?
Oh yeah. Oh man. I don't know. I got quite a few, bro. I couldn't even give you a count. It's at least,
Which is probably a good thing.
maybe 12 adults or something like that.
Okay.
12 adults, probably same or probably similar ratio, male to female.
Okay.
Dude, I got a ton of holdbacks, dude. I don't know, probably 25 or something like that, holdbacks or something.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. I mean, that group ensures that the hobby is never without those species from here on out, you know.
Yeah. I'm just dude, I like the snakes so much. It's just hard for me to even get rid of some of them, dude. You know, it's like, I think they'll just stay, whatever.
I get it. How do you think I ended up with 100 scrub pythons? The same exact way.
Yeah.
So
not a bad thing, dude. It's cool.
No, it's a great thing. So one thing that was interesting that you said that I want to follow up on. So when I was into these, you know, when I was keeping them and, you know, learning what Gavin had to teach me about them, back then he was like, there really isn't a whole lot of regularity in the how the colors and whatnot are being passed on. But from what you were saying, you seem to have it a little bit more dialed in. What can you put a pair of bird snakes together and be like, all right, I'm pretty sure offspring are going to be like this?
So yeah, I think I can. So like when I first started, when I had all these ones that I raised up, those were the ones I only had. So I was working with those. And when I was pairing these together, I was getting just all kinds of different stuff, like dark green, like a green with yellow, just like nothing all that spectacular. But after holding them back and refining it more and picking out like the ones that looked similar and pairing them, now I feel like the honeycombs, I got the honeycomb line down.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure like that snake's going to hatch out looking like either the mother or the father, which are very similar looking. And then the lavenders, I got F2 generations that I'm pretty sure they're going to be like all the ones that I've been holding back and raising up. I can see they look exactly like how the father did, you know, and that's I'm trying to preserve that lavender yellow color because it's unique. Like until you see that snake in person, dude, you won't understand. So I might bring it with me to Daytona. I don't know if you're going to be there, but
try.
Okay, if you're there, you come by, man, and
that'd be awesome.
Bring it. But you can see that lavender color in person, so I feel like I've got that down, pretty much down pat. And then that red color and that red and yellow, like it's either going to be like a dark red animal or it's going to be like a gray and yellow animal. That's basically what we're going to get out of those.
Okay.
But being that I'm holding them back now for a year before I'm pretty much selling them, I can see because those red animals are coloring up like right out a year. I can see that they're going to be red already, you know, and then just under a year or like a year and a half, they're incredible looking already. And I can't believe it because usually at 2 years, you're just seeing like, okay, these are the colors it's going to be. And these things are on fire already. They're blinding. I open up the bin and they're red and I'm like, holy crap, dude. Like, my blood gets pumping, dude. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
do you have any animals that are like red and blue? Like, because I've seen some in the past, like kind of like a, you know, kind of like just red or like a light, kind of like baby blue.
It's you could say it's like a bluish color. It's almost like a gunmetal bluish color. Yeah, like that. Yeah, absolutely. And they're almost like more of a wider band on that one. You know, It's got wide red, and then it's got like the wide, like some of them are banded and some of them are more like speckly and like solid looking. And then I got some, like I think I have one that might be a hypo, but that's another project that I'm trying to prove out.
Yeah.
Looks like it's a hypo to me. And I talked to my buddy Chris Sharp, and he's the one that actually pointed it out. Like I said, this thing's weird. Look at this thing. He's like, I think that's a hypo, but there's so much variability in them that we're not so sure. But the reason why I held that snake back too was because it was noticeably lighter than all the other clutch mates.
Yeah.
So I knew it looked different. It was already
from the jump.
So, and I posted that one. If you go on my page,
Yeah, I'll take a look at
it's
that.
got like really light yellow, like actually like orange yellow speckles on it, and like a light kind of grayish, or not grayish, greenish, tannish kind of background, but it's got that purple tongue. So it's definitely odd, and it's got like no black on it at all or dark on it. It's all like a light color. It's interesting. It's definitely an interesting looking snake.
Wow, that would be really cool.
Yeah,
that'd be really, really cool.
So that'd be really cool if that really does prove out to be a hypo. That would be cool. That'd be like the only morph in the bird eater that we have, So
yeah,
that's a long project because I think he bred this year. So if I get good babies, then it's going to be another 4 years or so. But
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, wow, that's really cool. Actually, I'm gonna need to go check that out on your page. Well, dude, we're just at about the 2-hour mark, and I know it's getting late over there for you, so I don't want to keep you too long.
All right, man. Good. I'm having fun.
Cool. Well, I guess before we wrap up, like what are some of your goals going forward, or species that you intend on adding, or what's your vision for the future with what you got going on?
Oh man, I wish I could give you more information, but I got some big things going on. I would like to try and I think I'll have a really nice quarantine set up now, like a bigger quarantine. So
cool.
I would like to start trying to work with more rare stuff that comes in wild, just to get stuff established. I feel like I'm at the point where I can try and do some of that stuff. So I'm not really sure on the species just yet, and I don't know that I really want to put it out there just yet. But there are some things that I think I want to try and work with, But my main things are what I'm working with now, definitely. But I wouldn't mind adding like something here and there, and But I just want to be able to properly quarantine all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
In my patio or in my garage,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sure. Cool. So how about this? This might be a curveball question. If you had to keep a reptile outside of the colubrid family, what would be like the top of your list of a non-colubrid reptile?
It'd probably be a emerald tree boa.
Yeah. Well, so. Are you familiar with the work that Ron St. Pierre is doing with them down there in Florida?
I see some of the stuff, but I'm not too familiar now.
He's keeping his emeralds outside year round.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know he keeps the stuff outside. Year round, huh? That's cool. I know he used to keep spilotes outside too.
Yeah.
Mexicanus. I'm not sure where they went. Do you have them?
No. I saw that he was he had them at Daytona either last year or the year before. Selling them. I don't know where they went though. No, I didn't get those animals.
Yeah, they were. I know he kept those outside, and I thought about, I have the land here to build some cool cages outside and stuff. I was thinking about maybe trying to build some outdoor cages and just doing it and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I've kept a few monitors outside in the past, and it was definitely a cool experience because you see different behavior patterns that you wouldn't see keeping anything indoors that you can't duplicate that with artificial lighting. And
exactly, man. No, there's nothing better than natural the natural light and sun and being outside. They'd probably do really well, I'd imagine. About the caging, like what type of screen mesh, because you don't want them rubbing their faces raw and stuff. So it's like that coated screen, with the rubber or whatever. over it or something, you know. So if I ever did do it, I'd make sure that I wanted to do it, you know, right, so that the snake doesn't get. But
and I feel like it's tough to kind of convince yourself to do that when everything's breeding so well inside.
yeah, it's cool though. I mean, an outdoor enclosure would be awesome, man. I'm all for it, man. I like it. You know, I like building stuff and, you know, making cool enclosures and stuff. That's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that for me is a big thing. Like, you know, kind of wanting to cut down on some stuff is to be able to focus on enclosures more. Because after doing the enclosures for the Spilotes, and they're in like my dining room area, so like just walking downstairs and just looking at the wall, and they're all over the place, and man, that would be so cool to have this, you know, have setups like this for a lot of other stuff. So,
well, I got more things to come, dude. I'll share later when I have time. Like, ready to release some stuff, but like, I'm planning some cool stuff, man. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, definitely looking forward to knowing more about that when the time comes. But yeah, it's always projects like anything like that, you know, is always, it's fun. It kind of keeps the juices flowing. You know, anything, whenever I feel stagnant, I'm like, I need to do something different. You know,
yeah,
I don't like feeling like I'm like, okay, I'm here now.
Yeah. So, well, that's cool, man. It's been a great night, man. I think we had a pretty good talk, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. The one last thing I'll ask before we get out of here is what's like a 1 or 2 dream herping trips for you?
Dream herping trips. I mean, Arizona would be awesome. I'd love to go to Arizona. Probably like maybe Thailand or something like that. Something over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are 2 good answers. Definitely a lot of very different answers.
Yeah, well, it's the best of both worlds. I think you got the stuff, and then you got, you know, the jungle animals, you know, all the crazy exotics and stuff out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, thank you again for your time. Let everyone who's watching or listening know where they can find you, where they can inquire about animals, and, you know, everything that they need to know.
Yeah, I mean, you can find us on Instagram at Palm Beach Colubrids. You can send us a message or anything like that. And we're also on Facebook too, Palm Beach Colubrids. That's pretty much all we have. So, yeah, check out. I post all the stuff we talked about. I try and post as much as I can because I'm always in there working with my animals. So when I'm in there, I usually take an animal out and try and get a cool picture or video or something cool to post.
Yeah.
To be like newer content on there, you know, so.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, again, man, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to throw you backstage and close it out if you want to stick around for a minute. But again, thank you so much. This is an awesome talk. I really appreciate that we were able to do this.
Oh, man, that was great. Thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Well, have a good night, man.
You too. Later.
All right, guys. Well, that was the show. I love that conversation. I always love being able to kind of divert from the main theme and talk about something else that I'm really passionate about, and that we need more information out in the ether about, frankly. So if you enjoyed this episode, you can check out the rest of the shows here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network, both on YouTube and then on all of the different audio streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast. For me, you can find me on Instagram at Scrub Shepherd, and then Stephen Kush on Facebook. If you are interested in scrub pythons, I know we didn't talk about them much tonight, but we have the new Somalia group on Facebook for new keepers, advanced keepers, breeders, really, or even anyone who's just interested in learning about the snakes. It's a community that we're building just to share information with no gatekeeping, you know, not keeping anything back, just wanting to share information for information's sake. So also subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe on all the audio platforms, all that good stuff. But for now, we will say good night, everybody, and we'll see you all here again next Wednesday.